The conference realignment remains at the forefront there. Florida State could be the next school up as their status in the ACC might be in doubt. FSU President Richard McCullough spoke yesterday on the school's plans. Take a listen.
I believe that FSU will have to, at some point, consider very seriously leaving the ACC unless there were a radical change to the revenue distribution. Our goal would be to continue to stay in the ACC.
That is big talk. So we got to welcome in Heather Dinich and Paul Finebaum to talk about this. I mean, look, Heather, this has all got my head spinning. What should we make of these comments by Florida State threatening to leave the ACC?
Well, it's a very public push to squeeze more money out of the conference, and that's not new. Florida State has publicly been disgruntled before about the revenue distribution, and it's important for people to realize that it would cost $120 million roughly in an exit fee, plus they would have to go to court to untangle themselves from the grant of rights, which extends through 2036. So there's a lot of issues here, legal complications, but it's also important to remember, as of right now, this skinny minute, they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have an invitation from the Big Ten or the SEC. I got a statement from Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, last night that said they are focused on adding Oklahoma and Texas, and the only conference expansion they're talking about is updating campus leaders about what's going on elsewhere.
You got to have a place to go if you're making threats. So, Paul, is Florida State better off staying or going from the ACC?
Leaving like today, Ryan. And would they have someplace to go? Yes, they would. Now, what Heather quoted Greg Sankey, there's nothing else he can say. You don't want to get in the middle of somebody else's legal quagmire. But clearly the ACC is struggling right now. They're struggling for a lot of reasons, primarily because they have a TV deal that doesn't end until 2036. Meanwhile, you see the Pac-12 schools scrambling like roaches at night. The Big Ten has shown indications that it could add a few more. So the FSU president and the board yesterday, it was in an unprecedented meeting, essentially saying, hey, somebody come save us. And the most likely prospect is the SEC, and don't forget there are other schools in the ACC who are not happy. FSU is not the only bad kid in the kindergarten class. Clemson doesn't like its position. North Carolina doesn't. Miami doesn't. That league right now needs to hold down, and there's really nothing they can do other than hope.
Yeah, you got a lot of unhappy campers there, and one conference that's really good in taking care of unhappy campers is the Big Ten. You mentioned them just a second ago, Paul, not ruling out future expansion. Heather, should we expect more expansion in the Big Ten's future?
That all depends on what happens in the Pac-12. It's impossible to untangle these conversations because, yes, there are conversations happening between Big Ten university presidents and Oregon and Washington, but that is essentially in case the Pac-12 falls apart, which could happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. This is wild, guys. I mean, the Big 12 is certainly putting pressure on those Pac-12 schools. George Kliavkoff has to get this TV deal done and sold to the university presidents to keep this league intact.
It's a streaming deal, and some schools might be unhappy with that. The best deal on the table, it seems, the Apple TV deal. Now, Paul, what's your reaction?
Well, I think the Big Ten is trying to make another chess move. Remember, the SEC moved first. They reacted last year with UCLA and USC. And if the Big Ten were to make this move, and it would be surprising if they go to 4, there's talk of California and Stanford as well, that, in my estimation, would force the SEC at some point to make a move, because what you have right now are 2 super conferences in the Big Ten and the SEC. It's Coke and Pepsi, and when one moves, the other one reacts, and that's exactly where we are right now in college football. Chaos would be an understatement, Ryan.
Yeah, it's like Coke and Pepsi and everybody else's tab at this point. So, Heather, how close are we to having those 2 huge super conferences? No, seriously, how close are we to having those 2 huge super conferences in college football?
A heck of a lot closer than we were a week ago. I mean, this is how fast things are changing. I sat here last week and told Green, nah, that's not gonna happen. It could happen. It could happen very soon. And it's because I'm going into my 16th season at ESPN, and I have never seen the collegiate landscape so volatile as it is now. I mean, you've got a university president at Florida State saying, give us more money or we're out. You have a Big Ten conference based in Rosemont, Illinois, considering schools in the Pacific Northwest after adding 2 flagship schools from California. That's all I got.
Mind-blowing. Paul, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, Ryan, don't forget, this is all about the student athletes. This has nothing to do with money.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.